So this is hilarious. Collective Shout is in the news once again because their co-founder, Melinda Tankard Reist, had the bright idea to make a tweet about what exactly? Gamergate. Yeah, they're pulling the Gamergate card. Melinda Tankard Reist says on Twitter, Gamergate on steroids, quote unquote. Abuse of small all-women team Collective Shout documented by @OnlineHate. At this link right here, and the bold text right there at the top saying, Gamergate returns. So yeah, this is pathetic. It reminds me of when Sweet Baby Inc. was in the news cycle, and gaming journalists were running to their defense. And the journos kept trying to bring Gamergate back by saying things like, Gamergate is back, but just as hateful as before. Meet Gamergate 2. Even the rhetoric is similar to Melinda's tweet, where she essentially said, gamers are abusing a small all-women team, compared to how in the context of SBI, journalists were saying stuff like, hateful gamers are targeting small DI firms. They constantly try and frame these organizations out as small and weak because the truth, the reality of what's going on is terrible for their optics. Allow me to explain. The reality is individual gamers are criticizing these organizations, and by default, these organizations already have more power than individual gamers. But on top of that, they also have their journalist buddies at major corporations and even government support all backing them. In other words, the reality hurts the narrative where they're trying to paint themselves out as these weak victims. So to counter that, these organizations constantly try and bring Gamergate back, to group all gamers together as some unified force that they then label as a massive harassment campaign. It's extremely disingenuous and, like I said earlier, also just absolutely pathetic. And so that takes us back to Melinda Tankard Reist's tweet here and this article from @OnlineHate, which is some organization in Australia, no surprise. We're going to take a look at that article because it's hilarious how desperate these people are to try and manipulate the narrative as mentioned. But first, let's take a look at some of the responses that Melinda is getting to her tweet here. We got Madam Savvy laughing, saying, you had to cover my face because you can't show a woman is disagreeing with you. Wait, did that freaking actually happen? I know they've already been in denial about like women criticizing them, including Madam Savvy, which we've talked about before many times in the past. But did they actually, did they actually like include a tweet? I'm assuming this is what happened. They include a tweet from Madam Savvy and then like block her profile pic because, again, they don't want to show a woman is disagreeing with them. Okay, you know what? We're going to go right to the article now. That's just way too funny. And so, yeah, that's exactly what happened. This is a tweet from Madam Savvy. As you can see, they have not just censored her profile pic, but they also censored her username. Oh, we can't show Madam Savvy on there. We can't show evidence of women also criticizing us. That would go against our narrative that all the criticism is from these gamer chud men. And they also censored other people's profile pics and username here. I believe, in my opinion, that they're doing this so they don't have to show evidence of women criticizing them, and also because they want to try and use this as a virtue signal via proxy, aka, look, we remove the username and and profile pic of people because we don't want them to be harassed. Why aren't other people doing that for us? It's obviously a ridiculous standard. People are going to talk about the things that Collective Shout says, and they have all the right to post who said that specifically and like who they're specifically talking about and or criticizing. For example, if people are criticizing a tweet from Melinda Tankard Reist, they're going to show that tweet in full, including the username and profile pic. To expect someone to censor that stuff is ridiculous, and it only ends up helping them if people follow that ridiculous standard, because now we're missing context, and context is obviously important. Let's check out this conclusion that they wrote at the end. It reads, the Online Hate Prevention Institute has been shocked by both the extreme nature and the volume of the content we have seen attacking Collective Shout, the women who work there, and those that serve on its board of directors. The connect comes from accounts across multiple platforms. In some cases, new throwaway accounts have been created in an effort to anonymously post threats while trying to avoid any consequences. These are serious cases of cyber harassment, and there needs to be government responses, including international cooperation between law enforcement agencies. These threats are not free speech, not even in the US, where some of the trolls clearly come from. This is an evolving story, and we will continue to provide support to Collective Shout and to monitoring the situation. Misinformation, misogyny, violent extremism. I'm like rubbing my eyes right now, bro. Like, am I seeing things? Like, Did I just crawl out of a freaking like time capsule from 2016? Like, what is going on here? This sort of gaslighting has failed so many times in the past, and instead of learning from that, they just try the same exact playbook. And while they shouldn't be getting threats, their example of threats are only these two tweets right here that essentially got no engagement. I mean, one has 3 likes, the other has 10 likes. In other words, it seems like they're really making mountains out of molehills for the sake of trying to dismiss all the criticism that they are getting and trying to paint it all out as like threats and harassment, etc., etc. It's very disingenuous stuff in my opinion. Because, you know, there are tweets with thousands of likes that have been criticizing them with very reasonable, valid points. And again, they're not addressing that stuff. They're just trying to paint all of the responses out as hate and harassment and threats, despite the fact that the great majority of responses they're getting, probably 99% of them, is, as mentioned, valid, reasonable criticism. But I'm starting to sound like a broken record a little bit. You get the point, surely. So let's go back to the responses they're getting here on this tweet that Melinda made. We already saw Madam Savvy laughing at them, saying you had to cover my face because you can't show a woman is disagreeing with you. Ha ha ha. And let's take a look at some others. Excuse me, if anything, the abusers are Collective Shout. You claimed you are a small all-women team, huh? Would you care to explain these names? Board of Directors, Martin Splitter, Chair, Male Australian, Craig Rowley, Treasurer, Male Australian, Dr. Andre Obeler, Managing Director and Secretary, Male Australian, Robin McNamara, CTO, female. I wasn't planning on like reading all this, but you can clearly see there seems to be, according to this, a lot of male members. I want to take a look at this one too, but I wanted to wait because I had to like click show more. Let's take a look at it now though. You and your hive of screeching hags are not victims. You are self-righteous, narcissistic busybodies who messed around and didn't want to find out because you've been used to avoiding accountability and consequences by rolling out the buzzwords sexist, misogynist, hate, harassment, etc. to try and make you sound like victims. You are not victims. You are a bunch of miserable, intrusive Karens. Oh, next you're going to see them trying to make Karen a slur. Watch. I say that in jest. No way. No way, though, right? But, like, could you imagine? And you're going to continue to learn why you should have left gamers the heck alone. Go away, sweetheart. You know, more or less. What else we got here? You started a war against an entire generation's culture. You do realize you're not going to win this war, right? You guys really need to get a new name for when you abuse your authority over gamers. Ma'am, this isn't even Gamergate Jr. This will be the last one I read, I think. I want to read this whole thing. Let's take a look at it. It already seems like bro's kind of cooking a little bit here. Ma'am, this is not even Gamergate Jr. You and this website don't even understand what Gamergate was. And I said bro, my bad, okay. I'm a 43-year-old woman. I've been gaming my entire life. My 64-year-old mother was a gamer before me. Based much for these two? Based ladies here? The only reason you are getting attacked, quote unquote, is because you chose to get involved in stuff that is, frankly, none of your business. You have chosen to leverage government and corporations to exert control over people who want nothing to do with you and literally wouldn't care you existed until you chose to interfere with their chosen hobbies. Yeah, it goes exactly back to what I said with how these organizations with powerful friends, to put it simply, try to manipulate the narrative and make themselves seem like these weak victims when that's not what's going on. You'll cry and say it's for the children or for women's rights, but I'm telling you right now, you are interfering with my rights. I may not play the games you've had taken down, but I'm well aware it's only a matter of time before you are interfering with games I play. Games that have literally gotten me through some of the most depressing points in my life that helped me survive. And because you don't like it, you want to remove that, that's why you are quote unquote under attack. It has nothing to do with your sex and everything to do with the fact you came after us first. Worse, you refuse to admit that not all women agree with you. You pull out the same tired BS and deny our ability to self-determine. Leave us alone. Dang, I knew this tweet cooked. I could tell at the beginning. Yeah, this was a great response from the abysmal critic. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it there. I think that's like all the main stuff. Great response to close it out on. What do you think about Collective Shout's latest damage control with this organization, the Online Hate Prevention Institute in Australia, writing this article and them all bringing up Gamergate? Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a good approach, obviously. I think this is one of the worst responses they could have went with, and they went with it. So yeah, I'll see you in the responses. And if you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing. It helps out greatly. Appreciate you, and I'll see you in the next one.